Trust is the glue that holds teams together and propels them to achieve extraordinary results. Got a question for you. Have you ever been on a team where the lack of trust or the absence of trust was there? I have. What have been your experience where there was no trust or there was a lack of trust? This is a 30. Let's go. Well, hello there, folks. Welcome to the 30. Hey, it's good to have you here. This is episode 207. I'm thrilled that you decided to join us on this episode. I want to give a shout out to what I call my LTVs. That's my long-term viewers. I want to thank you for checking in again on this episode. For those of you that are new to the program or new to the broadcast, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for taking the time to check in with us on episode 207. Of course, if you want to check any of our episodes, you can go to either our YouTube channel, which is found it's The 30 with Patrick. It is The 30 with Patrick on YouTube, or you can go to my personal LinkedIn page and you will find me there. If you have any comments or questions about this episode or previous episodes, if you just want to say hi, you're more than welcome to do that. Just drop it in the chat and I'll be happy to either respond or just give you a shout out or just say hi to you. So thank you for being here once again. Shout out to Alfreda. Good evening to you as well. Well, the 30 is a broadcast. It is a production of the Jackman Group LLC. And the Jackman Group LLC is a training and development firm which focuses primarily on educating and developing leaders to take them from where they are to where they desire to be. We also focus on building teams or helping teams to enhance their productivity and efficiency, as well as helping organizations with their strategic planning. So that's all that we do. But today we are going to be focusing on part two. Part two of what we started. Let's see, this is 207, right? Part two, trust, the cornerstone of team success. Trust, the cornerstone of team success. In our previous episode, if you haven't watched, you want to go back and see that. But in part one, we focus primarily on the importance of trust within a team. And then we also I give you 5 specific tips, leadership development tips that will help you in terms of building and maintaining trust in your team. Today, for part two, I want to move the needle a little bit and focus on number one, the role that trust plays within a team success, especially in today's world, which is fast paced. As you know, things move quickly. So I want to talk about the role trust, that word trust, plays in teams' success. And then I want to give you two or three additional leadership development tips that will help you to both build trust and maintain trust in your team. So we're looking at it from a work team. We're also any type of team that you are looking at it from a home team, a work team, but primarily we're going to be focused in on work teams. And what does that look like? In our previous episode in part one, we outline what the definition of trust was. I also give you the five tips, leadership development tips of um, what we look for in terms of how can we build and maintain trust within our teams. So let me give you those real quick. But if you haven't seen it, you want to make sure that you go look at part one. But we talked about five things: be transparent, lead by example, listen actively, listen to understand, follow through. We also talked about showing empathy. So those were the five leadership development tips that we discussed on part one. Again, if you missed part one, I would highly suggest, recommend that you go and check out part one of this series, Trust, the Cornerstone of Team Success. So, as I said, today's part two, we want to focus on the role trust plays when we're looking at team success. There's very specific things that I want to focus on. I'm going to give you about four or five of them, and then quickly pivot to give you some additional leadership development tips. So, number one, the first one is we want to make sure that we enhance our communication. So, trust plays a role in team success through enhanced communication. So, what we want, as far as leaders or those that lead teams or those that have teams, we know that communication is a critical component in everything that we do. The ability to communicate effectively. So when we're looking at trust, the role of trust, we must understand. I think I mentioned this briefly last week. Was being transparent. When we're talking about communication, being transparent and honest with your team members. What happens if we are transparent and honest with our team members now feel more comfortable because we are coming forward, we're putting ourselves out there, not just transparent and not being honest, but also being vulnerable because now we're expressing how we feel, expressing our thoughts. And I mentioned that briefly in part one, but I wanted to expand on this a little bit in part two because our team members now, because of what we do, our team members now feel more comfortable in expressing their thoughts, expressing their concerns, and providing feedback as needed and allowing us to provide feedback. So, what we need to do in terms of the role of trust, it helps us. It helps not just the team, the leader of the team, but it also helps the organization. It helps in better decision making. It also helps in problem solving because now the team members are more open to discuss, to communicate, right, to us. So it helps us in terms of, as I said, in terms of decision making as well as problem solving, which ultimately leads to team success. And that's what, if that's the goal, that should be the goal, right? If you're are leading the team, is a success of the team and the success of the organization. So the next one that I want to focus on is team engagement, and motivation. See, when there's trust in within a team, what it does is that it fosters a work environment where team members feel more value, they feel more respected by the leader or leaders, which now, in essence, increases the engagement and motivation. The team members now become more committed to the team. They become more committed to the vision or the mission of the team in the organization. They feel a part of the process. So when they are engaged and motivated or inspired, they feel better about themselves. They also feel more engaged, a part of the process. They also, in essence, they are more bought in, and that's what we're looking for: is all of us to be bought into the vision or the mission of the organization, of the team, and moving forward towards our team success. We all want to be successful. We all want our teams to be successful. We all want the organizations to be successful, whether it's corporate entity, whether it's a non-for-profit or non-profit, wherever it is. We want to see success. We want to see fruit. We want to see growth in the things that we do. Our next role or next way in terms of how what trust, the role trust plays within organizations or within teams, is that teams that trust each other tend to delegate more tasks effectively. So I'll say that again. Teams that trust each other, they believe in each other, they're trusting each other. What they tend to do is to delegate tasks more effectively and efficiently. Now, what is that? How is that so, Patrick? You've heard me over, if you've watched this program uh, in any time frame, whether it's a month or 2 months or over a year, over the last 4 years, you've heard me talk about the importance of delegation. And I'm not saying that the leader should always delegate tasks, but delegation is a way to engage both your team members right, and yourself, so you're seeing what they're capable of, and now you're also seeing what you're capable of in terms of delegation, but also helps you in terms of giving you some more time and giving the opportunity and the ability to do more. So by team members trusting each other, right, they're willing to take on more tasks, allowing you to delegate. But delegation is just one part of the process. Before we can delegate comes trust and empowerment. Before trust and empowerment comes the knowledge that the person or team member knows how to do the task. So knowledge in terms of knowing how to do the task, right? The skill, the how to, then the trust and empowerment and delegation. So that's all part of the process. So as leaders, we can't just delegate because we just want to give people things and take it off of our desk. Trust becomes a critical part or role in the overall process. So this leads to higher productivity, higher efficiency within the team and within the organization. The role of trust can also lead to higher job satisfaction and employee retention. Whenever there is employee dissatisfaction, right? When team members don't feel good about themselves or feel good about the organization, there's that saying, people don't leave organizations or team. They leave their leaders or their managers or supervisors. So what should we be doing? We should be helping in the role where trust is key, is ensuring that there's job satisfaction and there's employee retention. Because without retention comes that wheel, right? We're on a wheel. We Someone leaves, we have to hire and train and develop. Then that person comes in, and if there's a lack of trust or absence of trust, then you may have someone leaving again, and then it's that vicious cycle. And what happens is that there's a drain on the organizations finances, because you're moving over and over again. People are leaving, people are dissatisfied. So the work is not happening. There's a lack of productivity and efficiency. There's a deficit in output because what? There's a lack of trust. There's an absence of trust. So trust plays a key role when it comes to employee satisfaction and employee retention. So we want to make sure that we understand that and we have that. Lack of retention, as I said, is a tremendous drain on both the team members as well as the organization. So what else do we have in terms of understanding where we are in the role of trust? Here's a couple more before I pivot and go into part two. But if we look at it, if we look at the true definition of trust, and I told you that on part one, but another role is conflict resolution. Trust helps in resolving conflicts in a constructive manner. See, when team members trust one another, they're more likely to approach conflict in a problem solving way as opposed to blaming each other. I'll say that again. When team members trust one another, they are more likely to approach conflict whenever there's conflict in a problem solving mindset or way, rather than in a defensive or blaming way. They're not blaming each other. They're engaged and they want to make sure that they can solve problems in an effective way that benefits the team and benefits the organization. So conflict is resolved in a quicker and more effective and efficient way. Another way that uh, trust plays a role in team success is in the area of risk taking and innovation. See, when there's a trust environment, when team members feel that they can trust each other, now they're able to take on risk. They're willing to innovate or think about creative ways of getting things done. They're more likely to create or propose or suggest new ideas and new ways of looking at things because they realize that, number one, they can trust their leader, but more importantly, they can trust their team members. No one is going to be talking about them in a negative way. They're encouraged because of the environment that was set. So now, because of the new ideas and the risk taking and innovation that takes place, it benefits the team success and the organization as a whole. Because there's a lack of there's no fear from the team members. There's no fear of embarrassing themselves. There's no negative consequences in terms of people talking about them. So there's no fear of criticism, right? Because what? Trust is there among each other. So you can see the role that trust, that little word trust plays. Sometimes we take it for granted. We said, okay, well, uh, yeah, they don't trust each other, or how can I get more trust within the team, or what can I do to help build trust within the team? But what I just give you is the role that trust plays within a team success, within the organizational success. So, as leaders or as team members, we want to build a culture of trust. If it is not there, we want to make sure that we find out or determine why trust is absent. What is the root cause or the reasons behind the lack of trust or the absence of trust? And we talked about that in part one, the importance of what do we do? One way of finding out or determining why the reason behind the absence of trust or the lack of trust is, I would suggest, some kind of assessment or feedback survey to really find out and make sure that it is done externally. Make sure that it is done by someone like us, right? That is done from an external team. Because already, if you try to do that within a team where there's a lack of trust or absence of trust, guess what? The team members are going to be thinking, well, if I say something, I may be penalized, so I can't be myself. I don't feel there's trust on a team, so why should I stand up or stand out and give ideas and thoughts or suggestions? So I would put forth that you allow an external team or contractor or company do that for you. And of course, my suggestion would be who else, right? Us, the Jackman Group, so that we can come in and help you to establish what are the reasons behind the absence of trust or the lack of trust. Because without trust within the organization, there's a limitation on the success of the team or the organization. There's a limit. Efficiency and productivity stifle because of the absence or the lack of trust. So you want to get to the root cause in terms of what's stopping or what's hindering your team members from trusting each other. So what I just gave you was some thoughts and ideas on the role trust plays within an organization, right? Because I've seen it, I've experienced it myself personally on teams where there was limited trust. So I've experienced that. But I've also seen it within organizations as I've gone in, as our team have gone into organizations or partnered with organizations on both on the leadership side or the team enhancement side to move them from where they are to where they desire to be. So let's pivot quickly and talk about additional. So I'm going to give you additional tips. On part one, I give you 5 leadership development tips on how can you build and maintain trust within your organization to get to where you want to go, success and growth. And I talked about being transparent, lead by example, listen effectively, follow through, and show empathy. So for part two, I'm going to give you 2 or 3 additional ones. Number one is communicate openly and honestly. As a leader, you should have the capacity and ability to communicate openly and honestly. I'm talking about sharing information with your team openly and honestly. I understand and I know that there's some information that cannot be shared. There's some confidential information that cannot be shared. I understand that. I get that. I understand and get that as a leader, that may not be the way that you were taught. That was me, right? My first role as a manager, I thought that I was supposed to hold information back from my team because I was on a power trip. My first official role as a manager leading a team. I've had other roles in leadership capacities, but my first official role in corporate America as a manager, I thought, well, if I can hold information back from my team, now I have the power, right? I have information that they need. That means that I have the power and they don't. So I have the information, they don't have the information. And what I'm building now is a dependent relationship as opposed to an interdependent relationship. So power and they don't. So, hey, right? I'm the boss and they have to follow me. What I say goes because I'm the manager. If you don't like it, you can leave. But I quickly realized that that was not the most effective way of leading. I quickly realized that I was losing the team. And I looked at my manager and I saw my manager and she had the trust of the team, the buy-in of the team. And as the new manager, I didn't have that. I didn't have the trust of the team. And there was infighting and some bickering within the team. So I realized that I needed to pivot. And I looked at my manager style and I said, wow, how does she get here and I'm here? How does she have the trust and I don't? How did she have the team moving and I didn't? So I realized that one of the strategies and styles that she had as a manager was oversharing. She would share information. Of course, she couldn't share confidential information, but she would bring information to the team. So she wasn't holding back information. She understood that sharing information and bringing information to the team and sharing and communicating openly and honestly was the way to go to gain the trust of the team. So that was one of my key learning points when it became my next stop in terms of being a leader. The ability to what I call overshare. Again, I'm not saying that you should overshare on confidential information, but it's okay to share information with your team. Because if your team understand the how and the why, they would go to bat for you. There's a saying that you've probably heard me say numerous times, and I mention it when in our training, our leadership training, in our leadership coaching, when we're coaching leaders. I also use it personally. And here's a saying: in the absence of information, the mind fills in the blank. Right? So when your team members know that there's something that they need, that they should know, and you as the leader, you're not openly communicating or honestly communicating with them, guess what? They're going to make it up. They're going to think about, their mind is going to make it up, going to make something up. So again, in the absence of information, the mind fills in the blank. So because of your lack of sharing, right, and the root cause of that could be fear. The root cause of that could be insecurity as a leader. So it's okay to share openly the things that are not confidential so that you're giving the why and the how to the team. That's my philosophy. That's what I've seen. That's what has helped me along my way in terms of building trust within the team. Now, you can disagree with me, and that's okay, but I'm giving it to you from my experience and from what I've seen. Hundreds and probably thousands of leaders both hold back and those that share. So it's not something that I come up with. It's something that I've seen demonstrated firsthand. And I've seen the success of those that share openly. And I've seen some success and limited success of those that hold back and block information. So communicating openly and honestly, sharing information, keeping your team informed of what's happening within the organization. Transparency reduces uncertainty and builds trust. The other part of this is encourage dialogue. You want to set a culture, an environment where there's dialogue within your team, where your team members not just bring to at a table problems, but they're also bringing solutions. You should set the atmosphere where the team members feel that there's trust within within that team, that they can openly bring suggestions as opposed to bringing problems. So create an open environment where team members feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and concerns and suggestions as opposed to problems. So, folks, I just wanted to give you those two additional pieces in addition to the five that I give you in part one, in terms of uh, leadership development tips of building and maintaining trust for success within your team. If you would like more information, or if you would like for us to assist you within your team, feel free to get a hold of me. You can contact the Jackman Group at info@jackmangroupllc.com. That's info@jackmangroupllc.com. We would love to hear from you. We would love to partner with you and your organization in helping you to not just build trust within your team and organization, but how do you maintain that throughout for success? It's about trust. It's about building and maintaining trust, because trust is the cornerstone of team success. So, folks, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for part two, and we will see you down the road. May God bless you and your family. We'll see you later.